to myself again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot see.
Hi, welcome along to Steve Wraith's True Crime Podcast once again, and big welcome to me old pal Danny. How are you?
I'm all right, pal. How are you?
Very good, mate. Happy New Year. Good to see you looking fresh and well. And the reason we got you on the show, Danny, is me and you met up a few months before Christmas and just had a general catch up and cup hour. And you told us you were involved with this organisation, Stop UK website, www.stopteamuk.co.uk. This organisation also has a really big Facebook presence. And as you can see, they are secretly tackling online predators, something which I'm a big supporter of. Many of you who followed the show, since we started 3 years ago, will be well aware of the interview that I did with Dark Justice, Scott from Dark Justice, who came on, who has been doing similar kind of work up in the Northeast with a massive amount of success. Some would say that they were the original online predators and tackling this kind of thing, but it's something which has spiraled. Various groups up and down the country have been set up with varying degrees of success. But the fact that Danny is a mate of mine and is involved with this organization, and I've looked into it, watched their work over the last few months since we spoke, prompted me to get Danny on, because I'm a big supporter of this. So Danny, first of all, why get involved with this kind of thing?
I don't really know why. Well, I do. It's to make a difference, really. Like, obviously, catching these beasts, these whatever you want to call them. It's I think when COVID lockdown first happened, I think we went down lockdown in the March 2020, and my first child, my daughter, was born a month later, and then 2 months after that is when I joined the team. So I joined in June 2020, so 2.5 years ago. So I think it was mainly something to fill the void of being in lockdown, as well as doing good, as well as the fact that having my first child and my daughter, and yeah, it's there was like you touched on before the live. It's just constant. You can't even go on the paper or Facebook without someone saying nonce this, nonce that. Someone's been arrested. Someone's been in court and been let go, and that's it's to make a difference, and yeah.
I mean, I completely understand it. I'm a father myself, and I've seen this kind of thing go on for many years. And as you say, off chat, we were talking about the Evening Chronicle, for example, in Newcastle, who cover each day, it seems to me, new cases of these kind of predators coming out and putting them, being captured, being caught, being arrested, and eventually going through the court process. But I mean, from my point of view, that horrifies me, Danny, to see that. And I think being a parent makes a big difference.
Yeah, getting a slap on the wrist as well, most of them.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, they don't get the punishment that they deserve. That there's no doubt about that at all. Just looking at Stop UK in particular, I mean, how long have they been up and running?
So Stop have been up and running. I think we are now in the fourth or fifth year.
Mm-hmm.
I think when I joined 2.5 years ago, it was I think we'd caught around 200 or something at that point. And bear in mind, I joined in June 2020, and we're now in January 2023. It's exactly near enough exactly 2.5 years ago. I think this morning, we caught number 703, 704, something like that. So in the last 2.5 years that I've been there, we've caught nearly 500.
Wow.
Exactly. So, so when the numbers got put up, like, because every month we do like a review of the month of how many we've caught, whatever. Just obviously for public awareness, show some faces. Obviously, re-show the people's faces, because that's why we do it on. Obviously for public awareness, and in the year of 2022, we'd caught 252.
Crazy, isn't it? Crazy numbers. And people sitting at home must be horrified to hear those kind of numbers.
Exactly. It's we're called Stop UK for a reason. There's because we cover the whole of the UK. In my opinion, we're the best and biggest team in the UK easily. Obviously, every single team is most teams do a cracking job. We all do the same job, but for me, Stop UK is the best team in the UK. We work like hand in hand with a couple of other teams very closely, and like I said, we all do the same job, and that's, at the end of the day, that's what we do it for, to get these beasts off the street.
How does it tend to work then? Take us through an average sting. How would it work?
From the beginning?
Yeah, from the beginning, yeah.
Well, so basically, I think everybody out there now knows what a decoy is. Where a decoy will probably be could be active on a number of accounts across a number of different social medias. Snapchat, Facebook, whatever. Now how do you want me to call them? For paedophile, what?
Yeah, I think paedophile's better. I think the algorithm on the channel probably it doesn't like that N word as much. I mean, people can get away with it for a degree. I think if it's directed specifically at a person, I think there is a problem with the algorithm. But I think if we stick with predator or paedophile, I think
I'll say predator.
Yep.
So the predator will always make first contact. So they might like send a friend request, or obviously whatever, add friend, and then the predator will always make first contact. So if a predator adds, let's say I'm a decoy and I've got an account on, let's say, Facebook or something, and the predator adds me as a friend and I accept, I will not under no circumstances send that first message. So the predator adds the child and the predator sends the first message. Going on from there, all predators are different. Some of them are all of them are absolute monsters, but some of them will go into the grooming straight away. How old are you? I'm 12. I'm from Birmingham. I'm 13. I'm from Bristol, whatever. You're sexy. You're beautiful. Don't tell your mum and dad. Who do you live with? Blah, blah, blah. Straight away. Whereas others will sometimes the decoys are speaking to these predators for 12 months plus, even 3 months or 6 months or 9 months. Slow grooming. Very slow grooming. This might be every single day. As soon as the child comes home they believe that the child's coming home from school finish halfway home at 4, straight on the messages. Slow grooming. 12 months later, that's when they start picking up send me some pictures, or they start sending pictures, or will you meet me? Stuff like that. So so some of them are on it straight away. Some of the predators that have added the children, we have gone and got them days later. maybe even 24 hours, 48 hours later. But we've got enough evidence from what they've said in the 24, 48 hours to go and get them. Whereas, like I said, some of them might be 12 months. And then we've got a file like this, because we have to screenshot every single, from the very first message to the last message. We have to print it off on paper. If not, we can try and put it onto a file, but we like to hand it to the police on the day of this thing on paper, so they can look at it and say, yeah, we're going to arrest them. Once they've committed a number of offences, i.e. Sexual grooming of a child or of a minor, sending explicit pictures, asking for pictures of a minor, you know, some of them send links to videos and porn videos and all sorts of, some of them send videos of animals getting abused and children being abused. So all that. So once we've gone like enough evidence, we are actively seeking that predator. So whether that will be, there's either a door knock where we know where he lives. So we call that a door knock. So a team will, so we've got a research team. So the research team will put everything together and then they'll pass it on to the, so I work as security. There'll be like 70, 80 of us in security that work all over the UK, and we're on one group chat. So the chat will come in and say, Friday, 7 p.m, Manchester, door knock, who's in? No, yes. You get a team together, and then whoever that team is gets put into a separate group. And then you will either go and knock on that predator's door, or we like, not to say that we like, but if they're actively arranging to meet the child, to essentially rape the child, then that's obviously an extra charge. So we call that, so there's a door knock or a child meet. So we might have arranged to meet the child at Birmingham train station or Whitley Bay seaside, you know, it could be absolutely anywhere. And again, the shout will come out to the team, and the team will be there instead of the child. And that's so that basically start to finish. And then as soon as we've done this thing, that's when we ring the police. And you know, if, like I said, I think we've done number 703 or 704 this morning, and you know, we've luckily had 700, and every single one's resulted in an arrest. We've never not had an arrest.
I think that's the big thing. I mean, you know, a lot of people, I remember in the early days, used to be critical, saying, well, this is going to affect things. This is going to, you know, this is essentially going to, you know, prevent conviction, etc. It does the complete opposite. As long as people who are involved in these type of groups, you know, essentially do things properly. And by the by, and you've taken us through exactly how, you know, you guys prepare and how you go about your business, which is, you know, very, very professional. You know, you mentioned social media. It's always a big thing for me, the social media outlets. You know, I've got two daughters, and, you know, I've lived through them, you know, going through the you know, the various different types of social media, TikTok and in its previous conception. You know, probably I think one which is highly likely to attract predators, and Snapchat as well. Is there any particular social media you find as you get more involved in this over the last couple of years is more prevalent, and one which maybe parents should keep more of a strict eye on with kids?
That's a good question, and I've been asked that before by parents, and there was, I'm not sure what it is, but a few times, it was mainly last year, probably 12, 18 months ago, there was, you know, these like gaming apps that children download, and a lot of parents will download the app and make a profile and just let the child crack on and play with it. But what they don't realise is that there's chat rooms on the chat. Do you remember this? Do you remember the story about the YouTube videos? I can't remember what it was, but there was YouTube videos a couple of years ago where halfway through it was like a cartoon, and halfway through the cartoon, like something would pop up and tell kids to cut themselves or something.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah,
remember that. I can't remember what it was called, but it's basically and like the parents weren't obviously we just thought that the child could have been sitting next to them watching this video, or had got the headphones on, and the parents had no idea what was going on with this thing popping up saying cut yourself or go and do this, go and do that, hurt yourself, which is what sort of person does that? But there's actual adults who are pretending to be children on these gaming apps. I remember there was one called Roblox that I heard of a couple of times.
Still on the go?
Is it still on the go? Well, yeah, obviously 2.5 years doing this now. I get a lot of messages off people, people I know, people I don't know, saying, hi, can you investigate this person? Or, I got abused as a child. At any chance you can find this person? Which I'm not the police. I can't do that. Like, I say, look, the only way to do that is to go to the police. I can't. But I also get people, parents messaging me saying, look, I've noticed this on my Instagram and noticed this on my Facebook, or my child's 6 or my child's 9, and I'm like, but yeah, that Roblox and the gaming apps, every parent should be very vigilant about anything that the child is on the iPads, on anything that's got an active chat room on it. Because a lot of parents don't, like when I've said to them, there's a chat room. A lot of parents don't realise that there is open chat rooms on these gaming apps. They just think their children are having a play on an app, but there's predators on there actively seeking children. So every parent should be careful of those gaming apps, and every app, to be honest.
How have the police been with you when you've handed these people over? I've watched a few of the live stings on the Facebook page, and as I say, if you want to join this particular organisation, just give it a like on Facebook. Stop.uk on Twitter. I think it's got something like 4.6 thousand followers now, 2.7 thousand likes. But I mean, yeah, how have the police been with you when you've been on site for these offenders?
On the Facebook page, I think we had nearly 130,000 followers, but the page got took down, which is like the 3rd or 4th time, which is sad, but yeah, sorry, what was the question again, Steve?
Police, how have the police been with you?
The police, I'm going to say that the police are mainly absolutely fantastic. When they haven't been, I think that might be purely down to the person, rather than maybe a policeman with an attitude or what, I don't know. But I've stung predators where the police have turned up and they've gone, thank you, sir, thank you. They thanked us all and said, you're doing God's work and stuff like that. And you're like, thank you very much. And they'll speak to you, and, they'll have conversations with you and shake your hand and all stuff like that. But which is probably, if I was to do 50 stings, that'd happen 45 times out of 50. Whereas 5 times, the other 5 times they might turn up and they have a bit of an attitude. But at the end of the day, I'm not there to make friends with the police. Essentially, I'm there to get, as long as that predator gets handcuffed and put in the back of the van, I'm happy. That's what I'm there for. Because what we do is voluntary. No one gets paid for it.
Yeah, and it's at your own expense, which I think needs to be, to pushed forward to the forefront. These people are doing it in their own spare time, for the good of our children. It has to be said. The the stings when you get there. I mean, in general, what are these these people like? I mean, I'm going to go through a few of them. I've got no heart. I've got no fear in naming and shaming some of these people who've now been arrested and convicted. But do you suffer much? Do you suffer much at at these things? Is there much violence, or are a lot of them shocked? What's the general consensus?
Well, it is a little funny. Well, it's not funny, but when I first started, the old Ronnie Cray thing from the film Legend, where he says, I twist them up like a pretzel.
Yes, yeah.
So when I first joined, I made a joke about twisting them up like a pretzel, messing around. So my little nickname became Pretzel. Within the group, saying, "Oh, you might get to pretzel someone, whatever." Obviously, we don't condone violence. We're not there to hurt them, because when we turn up for the sting, if they kick off, then we will restrain them. But we're also there to because if, let's say, there's 8 of us and then 15, 20 people turn up to try and attack the predator, we're there to protect the predator as well. So, but yeah, there's been many times where, this one's a feisty one, this guy's a feisty one, and because a lot of them tell the children all sorts of crap. I remember one guy, he lived right by me, and he was speaking to this child for a long time, and he was telling the child that he drove a Range Rover with a big exhaust, and then when he turned up, he had like a little Renault Megane or something. Just because when you speak, if he thinks he's speaking to an 11-year-old child, what does this child know? They lie. I'm a black belt at karate, or I did 5 years in the army, and we do the research, and they've never done nothing like that at all. They're just weirdos who lie to children and make the children. Obviously, it's part of the grooming. But yeah, as for the violence side, there's been times where we thought, oh, this guy might kick off. He's a big guy, or he's got previous for violence with the police, and we turn up and he just goes white, starts shaking, and it's all nice and calm. But then there's other times when we've got like little skinny old men, and we're like, oh, he's not going to cause us any problem. We turn up and he's like, rah! He's trying to, So as for the violence, that's 9 times out of 10, they just completely, the world falls out the bum, and that's it for them, and they go white. And so there's been a couple of occasions. I mean, it does happen. Some teams, some of the teams that probably aren't active anymore, like you said just before about the earlier teams, they went about it a different way. There was teams that went out to deliberately hurt and humiliate the predator. Some of them would attack them, some of them would turn the cameras off and kick them or punch them. It's happened. You can, it's in the paper, you can hear about it. Teams have been shut down because of that. Stop UK, we don't do that. We're not there to harm them, we're there to get them arrested.
Mm-hmm. I mean, in your job going out on these, do you see many repeat offenders?
Sometimes 3, 4, 5, 6 time repeat offenders.
Wow.
I remember because like I said, there's been like over 700 now, and I don't really like to remember each person's name, because as soon as I get them nicked and I get back in my car and drive home, I try and forget about it. I don't want to remember that person, but I remember there was one guy who was speaking to that many children. We got him arrested. I wasn't on this thing. I think this was before I joined. He was arrested. He was charged, and he was jailed. I can't remember. Like I said, maybe got 18 months. Sorry. He come out of jail after 18 months. He's jumped straight back onto his. He's had the 10 years shot. Sexual harm prevention order, sign the register, whatever. And then he's come straight back out, straight onto his device, and he has started speaking to the exact same child who he had been arrested for and gone back to jail, because he was speaking to that many that he'd forgotten which one, the child that he was actually sentenced and jailed for. And the day he got out of jail, whether he served 9 months, 10 months, 18 months, can't remember, but the day that he got out of jail, he started communicating with that child again, and we went and got him the next day. He went straight back to jail. And I think he was like a 4th time repeat offender. So yeah, we see repeat offenders all of the time.
Unbelievable. I mean, you mentioned COVID right at the start of the program, and I mean, has there been, in your mind, has there been a big increase? Or I mean, those people who probably worked before you would be able to answer the question better, I suppose. But has there been a rise in these kind of cases because people were sitting at home with nothing to do?
Yeah, well, obviously on the COVID, we had obviously when we were under restrictions, we weren't doing things because we were in lockdown under restrictions. But as soon as the restrictions were lifted, we were active again, obviously at the same day, because so much had built up. Because you know, it's that what's the word, prevalent, that it's that active. There's so many predators active constantly on a daily that when you're in lockdown, maybe potentially people who have had thoughts of children before that have never actually acted on it have now been in lockdown, bored, lonely, and then become to act on it. So I would say that COVID, since it has been unbelievable. So I think it was April of 2021, so about 20 months ago, we caught number 300, and that was in, I'll never forget it because I was there, and it was in Prince's Park, Sefton Park in Liverpool by Toxteth, and it was number 300. Like I said, that was 20 months ago, and we've now just done over 700, so 400 in 20 months or 21 months, which is absolutely disgusting. And that has just gone. And like I said, the Stop UK is a big team. It's the people who run it are absolutely fantastic. You know, some people, you know, everybody works full-time jobs. And to do this, what those, like I said, I just work as security, so you know, I crack on with my life, and when a predator's there to be caught, I'll crack on, and you know, there might be one a week, there might be one a month, you know, that's as much as my involvement in it. But the decoys, it is every single day of their life, every single night up till the early hours, speaking to these predators. You know, whoever's a decoy, there's salt of the earth, in my opinion, because the stuff that they see, the videos, the pictures, the grooming, it's absolutely vile. And yeah, I think they should be paid. 100% should be paid.
Is it lack of police resources that means that the police can't do this, or is it just because the problem is so vast that they just don't have the man hours, you know, and the personnel, I guess, to dedicate a section to this? I mean, in the past, I've known police officers who have dealt in this kind of work, and you know, have again probably said exactly what you've just said to me there, that the, you know, people like the you know, online who have to go through this, the decoys, you know, I know people who've done that work with the police, and they've said it's mentally draining on them, and you know, it can affect them and traumatize them for the rest of their lives. But you know, is it down to the fact that there's lack of resources and lack of police officers doing this, that this kind of things become prevalent amongst, you know, ordinary people like yourself?
I mean, I don't know. I don't know, because police resources, you know, I haven't got a clue about police forces. And I know that there's some police forces in the country that have got dedicated teams that do exactly the kind of same thing that we do. But then I also know that there's other teams that don't. They basically just don't at all. Well, I'm not saying at all, but I know for the fact that some police forces in the country have got dedicated teams that work 24 hours a day to get these predators, and they do. And they fully, you know, they're fully involved with teams like with like with like what I do. But please, you know, let's say someone started going out and burning shops down every night, or you know, robbing schools every single night in a certain area. You know, after a while, someone's going to say, this is absolutely wild. We need to put a team on it, won't they? So, you know, any crime needs to be dealt with, but I can't say about the lack of resources, because I don't know. It might be that prevalent that they can't keep up with it, but I don't know, Steve. I don't know about police resources. You know, like I said, a lot of them will shake our hands and say thank you. So does that answer the question?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I think maybe
why,
they just.
Why would they shake our hands and say thank you? You know, because they know. You know, most people are parents. You know, police officers turn up. They've got daughters. They've got sons. You know, and maybe they have to see. You know, I would say a police officer sees more than anybody. You know, just doing the day-to-day job.
What's the average sentence for somebody caught? Is there an average, or does it depend on, like a lot of crimes depends on what judge you get on the day? I mean, I've seen some what I would call horrendous stories about a particular predator in the Northeast where they've come away with a tag on, and you know, they get put on the sex offenders list, but they're not serving any time in prison. What is there an average, or does it literally just depend on the judge?
There's no average. Like in fact, it is so varied. It's absolutely crazy. There was another guy who we caught, local to me. I actually knew who he was. I used to, he was quite a bit older than me. When I was a younger guy, he used to drink in the pubs in my area, and I'd let on to him and say hello, whatever. I probably haven't seen him for 12, 14, 15 years, something like that. But last year he popped up, so we went and got him arrested. He was a first-time offender. He was only speaking to one child. He didn't send videos or pictures of himself or stuff like that, but he was engaging in sexual activity, sexual correspondence with the child. He'd arranged to meet a child in the local swimming baths, where he was saying he was going to buy the child, you know, some a swimming costume, and he would get changed for her, and you know, that type of stuff. But it wasn't excessive. And we were there at the swimming baths, and we watched him get off the bus, and then he bottled it and jumped straight back on the bus and left. But he carried on the correspondence. Anyway, he was arrested, and I thought he would have got a slap on the wrist, but he actually got 2.5 years. I think it was 2.5 years jail. About 2 months ago, we heard he got 2.5 months jail. It's fair, as far as I believe, it's his first ever. I think he's early mid-40s. As far as I believe, it's his first ever conviction, first ever arrest. Like I said, it wasn't the worst of activity that he was saying with the child, whereas, but he got 2.5 years, which is a result in my eyes. But then we've got people who have got, you know, criminal backgrounds, not just with children. You know, they might have stuff from the past, and then they've started grooming a child. They send pictures, they send videos. It goes on for months. They're speaking to 5, 6, 10 different children. You know, all sorts of stuff like this, and then they'll get a slap on the wrist. A 10-year SHPO, sexual harm prevention order, you know, a 5-year, you know, sign the register, and you're just like, or an 18-month suspended sentence is the one you see a lot. So yeah, it's very varied, Steve, varied. But we've had convictions of 6 years, 10 years. I think the highest one was 12.5 years. Don't quote me on that one, but I think in 2022, last year, someone got 12.5 years. But yeah, some absolute monsters will get a slap on the wrist, and some people, I mean, they're all monsters, but some people who first-time offenders will get jailed. So yeah, it's absolutely crazy.
I mean, it's not something you can answer, but you can give an opinion on it. What's a fair sentence, do you think, for some of these people that you see, you know, as you go along in your capacity of security, you see them offended, you get to know obviously what they've done prior to going on the the capture, if you like. But what is there a fair sentence? You know, what can you say that these people should get?
I think, I mean, it is a good question, Steve, but I think I'd have a little bit of bias on that, because being involved for 2.5 years, I've seen how these people work, and it absolutely knocks me sick. That's why I said the decoys are the salt of the earth and they should be paid. But, you know, I don't think, I mean, there was a guy local probably 3 or 4 years ago before I was involved, and he was arrested. He was a young guy, and he was arrested with 7,500 images of children being mutilated and abused as young as 3 years old. And I mean, the highest, he had 7,500 pictures. Say 5,000 of them were of the lowest category, but then he had like 350 of the highest categories, something like that. You know, I can't remember the categories when it comes down to the image, of the worst kind. And it was actually found that he was actually in a network of predators who were sharing and making these images. He was actually involved, and he was a local guy here. And he got he didn't get jail. He got a suspended sentence, I believe. But why should he walk the streets? Because I remember the uproar of it. Everyone saying, "Get jail." He didn't get jail, and obviously this was before my time doing this. But I was like, how the hell didn't he get jail? But me personally, I would have said, well, you know, you are actually active in making and distributing the images and videos of the worst kind of abuse to 2, 3, 4-year-old children. 20 years jail. Why should he not get a life sentence for ruining multiple lives? If he got caught with 350 images, that might be 350 images of one child. What if it's one image of 350 children at the age of 2 or 3 being abused at the highest possible abuse that you can imagine? 20 years jail, life sentence. That's my opinion.
Could internet companies do more to try and prevent this?
I don't know if it's yeah. I think everybody can do more, Steve. Everybody can do more. Internet companies can do more, but I'd say it was more down to the actual apps itself. You know, how many? I mean, I haven't seen it in recent years, but how often have you put something up on Facebook and you've been banned for 30 days for something trivial?
Happens a lot.
It happens a lot. But then you can go on Facebook and you can see people being beheaded by ISIS.
Yep.
how's that loud? Or you can see there's been videos where I seen a video a while ago where there was you see predators being absolutely, it might be in India or the type of videos where they're getting whipped with canes, or they've been castrated and they've had dogs set on them and all stuff like that, and you're watching them and you're like, how's this on Facebook? So people, I mean, I might be wrong here, but I think it was actually Katie Price who came up with the idea of having to show your passport, because I think Harvey being. Is that am I right?
Yeah, I do believe that there was a vast amount of trolling of Harvey at one point, and various things being put up. And she came up with that idea. I mean, surely that wouldn't be difficult to do. I mean, I know from your experiences when you try to set up a PayPal account or an eBay account, you might get a routine check on there, but you have to provide, especially if it's a company, say, you have to provide proof of the ownership of the company, proof of the bank statement, proof of your passports to say that you were the person working with that company. You do have to do the same for many different forms of social media. So why not Twitter, Facebook, whatever? And surely if you're on a sex offenders register, then they can come back and say, that can be highlighted. It can come up and say, this person has been convicted of a sexual offense and this person should not be allowed on social media. If we could bring that in, it would curb these reoffenders at the very least.
Exactly, Steve. And like I said, so many people and so many companies can do more. It's not just one person. Everybody can do more. Now, I know I've heard, if you need your passport to have a social media, all right, it's easy enough to say. And I know there's a lot of people that don't have passports or can't get passports or whatever. But that's not just the only avenue you can go down, isn't it? There's predators who have been jailed and convicted who are not allowed to be on the internet. Now, just because if I'm a judge and I'm standing in a dock and I'm looking at a predator and I say, you're not allowed internet, you're not allowed a mobile or a laptop for the next 5 years. You're not allowed whatsoever. Okay. And the predator leaves the dock, goes downstairs. He can walk straight into a shop, pick up a phone with mobile access, and start speaking to a chat. It means nothing. It happens all the time. So many predators the reoffenders, as you mentioned before. So many reoffenders who have been jailed, or they've been told no internet access. You're not allowed a phone. And they might have a probation officer, they might have a police officer that knocks around every so often. Have you got a laptop? Have you got a phone? No, I'm not online. Okay. And, there's been so many times where we've turned up at the predator's door and we've said, have you got a phone? Yeah. I thought you weren't allowed. You thought you weren't allowed a phone? Well, I'm not. But you've got one. Yeah. So you can't stop them.
In some countries, and I did do the due diligence before we came on today, just double checking which countries allow chemical castration of rapists. So you have South Korea, you've got 7 states in the US, you've got
in the US,
7 states: California, Florida, Guam, Iowa, Louisiana, Montana, and Wisconsin all allow legalized chemical castration of rapists and molesters as a condition of sentencing or as a means of early release. The Czech Republic, the Ukraine, and in July 2019, their parliament approved to chemically castrate rapists. And Nigeria, one state in the country, the northwestern Kaduna state, introduced sterilization as a penalty for child rape. Yeah. So these countries, I guess, are probably looked at as strong advocates of human rights, shall we say. Could you ever see the day that this country and this government, or a government in this country, goes down this route to prevent, the horrendous things that we're seeing, crimes being committed against and towards children?
Steve, we can't even get this country to jail them. You know what I mean? That's what, as I said before, there's so many of them get a slap on the wrist and just go straight back to it. There needs to be serious changes in our law system. I honestly, I mean, it'd be easy for me to sit here and say, yeah, chemically castrate them or, whatever. But, realistically, anybody who is anybody that is found guilty of rape of a child or an adult should be instantly life off. If someone rapes a child and might get 18 months or 3 years or something, why should they get that? Why? And you hear it all the time. Oh, people sell drugs, and he got 3 years for selling weed when he got a slap on the wrist for being a predator, for nonsense a child. It's, you hear it, you can hear that in every pub on the weekend. You know what I mean? Every time it's mentioned. There's the drugs is completely separate and should be dealt separately, but which it is. But predators are anybody convicted of rape of a child or even an adult, it should be life. Why they're destroying children, they destroy lives. Drugs destroy lives as well. But what's the difference? Well, there is a difference, but I won't go into the drug side of it, but predators, I believe, life sentence. It's easy to say line them up and hang them all on a Sunday outside the town hall in every town in the country. Obviously that's not going to happen. It's not the
way this country works. Yeah, and it's not the dark ages.
It's not the dark ages. It does happen in some countries. I'm very surprised to hear. I did not know that there was 7 states in America that do castration. I wonder how often that actually happens there, though. But you can castrate a predator, or you can cut off his hands. You can do what, but it doesn't change what he's thinking in here. So the best place for them is in jail. If you castrate a predator and he's still active on the streets, and he gets his hands on a child, what's he going to do? He's been castrated. He might use other things, and because he's angry about what's happened. There's only one place for them, and that's jail. Life sentence. Put them in jail. End of.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be difficult to do that. The jails are full to the brim, full to capacity. It's a problem, unfortunately, I think, which is going to go on and on and on. And, without groups like Stop UK, we would be in a far worse situation. Just pick up a copy of your newspaper or go online and look at your newspaper, wherever you're watching this in the UK and across the world. And you will see people like this guy, grooming and sexual chat with a child. James D. Leeds. You'll see somebody like this guy, Alan H. Westcliffe on C, grooming and sexual chat with a 13-year-old girl. John P.S. Durham. Yeah, not far from where I live, really, in the grand scheme of things, geographically. Now, this guy was a reoffender, stung previously by predator exposure, another group, groomed and chatted sexually to a child online. During the chat, he sent vile image of child abuse to the decoy, who followed protocol and immediately called into the police. When they still hadn't acted after several days, despite numerous attempts to progress the case, Stop UK decided to act. Certain praise given on your Facebook page to Romani. Somebody saying it was a pleasure to work alongside this person, and a massive well done to another person called Alison and her team on the ground for their persistence. This particular person, John, was arrested and stopped just to just a handful of people there that I've picked up out of your social media group. But I guess the thing I got just from looking through it was just the diversity amongst these people, and you have in your mind what a predator will look like, but in the grand scheme of things, all of these people have all got different faces, different images, different ages. There's not one set type. You know what I mean?
No, not at all. So I'll tell you about a couple of them briefly. The first one that I ever did was I think it was in Oldham, and he was a church parishioner. He was active in the community. He was well known. He was on the local council sort of, but he was held in high esteem. He was well known in the area. He was a church parishioner in his 40s. I'll never forget him because it was my first one. And then another one I won't forget. Macclesfield it was, and this guy he did have learning difficulties, but I'm just trying to say, the range of people going from a church parishioner, a well-known person in the area, to someone with learning difficulties in the Macclesfield area. Now, when we went to catch him, he was actually in the cemetery, and he turned up to meet a child, and and he thought he was meeting the child in the cemetery, and he had a big rucksack on him. And obviously we got him, and we're speaking to him, and he was sat down, and he did have learning difficulties, and he was and I noticed in his pocket was absolute, because he was sat on the grass and his pocket was bulging, and this was a red hot day, and I said, "What's that in your pocket, mate?" And he was just like, "It's lighters." Why? I said, "Lighters." He goes, "Cigarette lighters." And I went, "How many have you got in your pocket?" And I'm talking, his pocket he probably had 50, 60 lighters in his pocket. No joke. So at the point he was sitting down, he were nearly thought they were falling out. And his rucksack was next to him. Like I said, he was sitting on the grass, and I was on one side of him, and I just said to the other guy on the other side, I said, "Just take his bag away from him." I said, "Have you got anything on you?" I said, "Have you brought condoms? Have you brought alcohol?" And he's like, No. I said, "Have you got any sharp with you? Have you got a knife?" And his face dropped, and he was like, "Well, only my knife I've been to work with." And I was like, "You work?" Because we knew where he worked. He wouldn't have had a knife. So I just said to the guy next on the other side, and take the bag. And as he went to pick the bag up, his arm went like that with the weight of the bag. And I went, what? Anyway, the police come, he gets arrested. We open his bag. The police open his bag, not us. And he had a couple of cans of lighter fluid. Bear in mind, he's got 40, 50 lighters in his pocket. A couple of cans of lighter fluid. A Bear Grylls hunting knife. I don't know, it's like an orange black knife in its sheath. It's a big, heavy, sharp knife, like a Rambo knife. It's and an industrial-sized chain with a padlock. So he was actually in the cemetery to meet the child. What I believe he was there to do was to rape and kill the child and tie her to a tree or tie her to something, set her on fire, and light her with lighter fluid and set her on fire. That's why else would he turn up with that stuff? He's been convicted. He's gone to jail, which I'm made up about. But then again, last year we caught a guy who was a vicar. He actually lived and worked in a vicarage. He was an ex police officer with Merseyside Police. He lived with his wife. He was probably 60 odd years old, something like that. And we turned up on his doorstep in not far, Liverpool. And he's opened the door. His wife came to the door. We've said, "Hello, we need to speak to," I can't remember his name. He came to the door. We told him why we were there. And he basically just folded his arms and said, "I'll speak to whoever I want." Now this guy does online sermons. I think that's the right word, sermons, is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
He does online sermons every Sunday. He is also a well-known person who people listen to, and he, you know, he lived in a vicarage with his wife, and he lived the life of a vicar and a well-known person in the local area who, you know, and he was grooming children. And when we turned up on his doorstep, instead of saying, "Oh my God, what have I done?" he took he stood there and crossed his arms and said, I'm not answering your questions. I'll speak to the police. And when we said, "Why are you speaking to these children?" his answer was, "I'll speak to whoever I want to speak to," with his wife of 30, 40 years crying behind him. So yeah, that's just a couple, Steve. It's wide and varied. 20-year-olds, 25, 60-year-olds, you know, people who have had convictions. You know, there might be a 60-year-old man who had a conviction from 40 years ago, and then he gets convicted again, and we're like, "What have you been up to in the last 40 years? Do you know what I mean? You know, did you just get out of jail 40 years ago when you got a conviction for actual molestation or abuse of a child, and just sit on it for 40 years and decide to be it again? Or have you been active for the past 40 years? Again, we don't know.
No, we're doing a couple more. William S, real name Andrew B, Swansea, vile sexual chat with 2 children aged 12 and 14. Paul H, Reading, reoffender, chatting sexually to multiple children. And Timothy D, New Haven, sexual chat and constant demands for indecent images with a 12-year-old girl. All of these people stopped by Stop UK. Last question, Danny, before we finish off. Just, you know, I mean, some of these people will maybe be born with some kind of, you know, illness, because I think that's the only way that I can describe, you know, this kind of offending. It has to be some kind of mental illness which needs treatment and needs looking at. But I mean, is there anything that can be done? You know, do there need to be tighter controls on the internet? I keep coming back to the internet, you know, porn that's accessible on the dark web and stuff like that. And does there need to be stricter laws on that? Because, you know, some people, as you and I mentioned earlier on about COVID, people sitting at home getting bored, getting maybe dragged into the dark web. Those feelings still have to be there, of course, but it's difficult for you and I to describe it because you and I aren't like that. But
Exactly.
you know, is there anything that we can? Is there anything that maybe that can be done to try and clamp down on more people going towards that dark web?
I'll answer it like this, Steve. The internet is probably not only the best thing ever invented, it's also the worst. There's so much good on the internet, and there's so much bad. There's so much that can be done in every aspect of everything bad across the world, whether it's the internet or not, whether it's online grooming of children or people gambling online. You know, people get addicted to shopping online. People get addicted to gambling. People get addicted to so much stuff on the internet. So, you know, what can be done? I haven't got the answers to that, Steve. I don't know. But, the internet's got you know, the internet is a wide and varied place, isn't it?
It's got a lot to answer for, mate.
It has got a lot, but it's got so much good. It's got so much good.
It has. Okay, well, Stop UK has got a huge presence on Facebook, despite people, you know, getting it taken down. Those people with bad intentions, clearly not happy that there's people out there doing good, secretly tackling online predators. Give them a like on Facebook, watch the work that they do. And Danny, just on behalf of me and millions of parents up and down the UK, thanks for the work that you do, mate. It's been great to chat to you.
Pleasure. Can I just say, Steve, I just want to give, I just personally want to say thank you to every single decoy, not just from Stop UK, but across the country. Every single decoy that has to put up with the stuff they have to put up with, I want to just say personally thank you to them. And I just want to say, you know, thank you to everybody at Stop, Raven, Ratty, Posh, everybody. I can't name them all, but every single one of them, because the work that they do is unbelievable. And yeah, if everybody can follow Stop UK, Stop Stings on Facebook, and share for awareness. That's why we do what we do. It's all for awareness. Every single predator we catch is on there, and every single one's face should be lit up. That's every parent should know about every single predator who is in their area.
Great stuff, Danny. You've been a great guest. Thanks very much, mate. Good luck in everything you do.
I'll catch you soon, mate.
Take care. Bye-bye. A big thank you to all our sponsors, as always. Thanks to Skips and Bins, telephone 0800 25 45 25 3, email inquiries at skipsandbins.com, and our website skipsandbins.com. Easy, contract free, and pay-as-you-go waste collection. Thanks to Garden of Healing Dispensaries, CBD hemp and cannabinoid specialists. You can find them at thegohd.com. Thanks to Mr. Vicky's sauces, which are handmade in Cumbria, and you can find them at mrvickys.co.uk. If you want to make an order, give them a call on 01768 210 102 or email info@mrvickys.co.uk. Thanks to Blowhole Breweries, you can get a selection of beers, and the cans are in the design of the old Newcastle United entertainers strips. Blowholebrewery.co.uk. Thanks to Melly's Carpets and Beds, laying our reputation one recommendation at a time. The best quality around at the cheapest prices. Melly's Beds and Carpets.co.uk. Email sales@mellysbedsandcarpets.co.uk or give Melly a call on 01670 632 216. And thanks to United Group Travel Limited, UK coach holidays in Morpeth, 01670 362 460 or mobile 07957 141 654. Graham, your driver, Beverly answering your calls and looking after you on your tour. Some great deals coming up there. Get yourself onto the website to check them out. Thanks also to Media Arts, who do all of our videos and help us with the technological side of things. And thanks to qtechshop.co.uk, the makers of pool tables and snooker tables in Wallsend, Newcastle, and the guys who run our website, NUFCmatters.com. If you want to subscribe to the channel, then hit the subscribe button below. Hit the thumb up, which is the like button, which does us a big favour with the algorithm, and click share. Share it to Newcastle United Facebook groups or Twitter accounts or your own social media to help our community grow. And if you want to join the channel, hit the join button, and for as little as $1.99 a month, you can get some members-only videos and chances to win some fantastic prizes. We're also available as a podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Podbean, and the rest. Don't forget as well that we do events through NUFC Matters, and this one is the next event coming up, Friday the 24th of February, an evening with Newcastle United legend Steve Howie. Friday the 24th of February, Tyneside Irish Centre, and tickets are available at £50 from newcastlelegends.com. If you also go onto Voucher and search for the event, you can pick up a bargain on there. Don't forget, we also support the food bank on this channel. www.nufcfansfoodbank.co.uk is where you can find the Matchday Bucket. You can make a virtual donation to the Matchday Bucket 365 days of the year to keep helping the food bank in Newcastle.